Bring me the next shiny new thing. Bring me the next shiny new thing. Bring me the next shiny new thing. Bring me the next shiny new thing.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the BBFC. My name is Brett, also known as Geek Over 40. This is where we talk about all things custom minifigures. We got a really special episode today. I've got 3 guests with me. As usual, I've got my co-host Phil. Phil, say hi.
Hi.
Phil will be in and out intermittently as he's also multitasking and doing some work on the side. So he was kind enough to log in and give his 2 cents when appropriate. Also joining me today is, for his second appearance, is Samir, also known as Azork.
Hey guys, so it's an honor to be there for a second time.
Azork, if you wouldn't mind, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a Lego photographer and I do editing as well. So I've been doing this for a while now. What got me into it was, like we discussed, Lego Ninjago at first. It was an account where I used to post my collection, and gradually I started doing some small edits, and now I'm doing mainly that.
And you also do promotional work for some brands?
Yes, exactly, for Phoenix Customs, and I recently started doing it for CrossCheck as well. So I shoot their figures to promote them, basically.
Fantastic. And doing his inaugural debut on the podcast is Mr. Keith, also known as Castleinthepool, a very talented Lego photographer, which I'm happy to have on here. So Keith, go ahead and say hi and give us a little intro about yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Keith, also known as Castleinthepool on Instagram. So I've been taking photos for like 12 years now of Lego minifigures. What got me started was actually wanting to create movement within like a Lego minifig. So that was my main motivation, my main inspiration at first, just to create movement, to make them look alive on photos. And then I think in this like 12 years or so, I've just started creating scenes based on, my favorite like superhero movies, and I just built it up from there. Yeah. And also I'm kind of nervous being here in first time and meeting like these people that I see on the platform like so often. So yeah, pardon me if I just slip up from time to time, but yeah, very
That's what we
happy to
got
be
editing
here.
for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is fantastic. 2 very talented individuals, and you might notice there's a running theme of all Lego photographers today, with the exception of Phil. But sorry, Phil.
No. You're very much right.
You're here to keep us on our toes. So the reason why we've gathered here today is there's been an onset in artificial intelligence, or AI, within the Lego photography community, or even the overall broader toy figure community. If those are familiar with Toy Pick community, they just went through this having to do with an AI photograph making its way into their top 5, or the weekly top 10, excuse me. And then they got a lot of heat for that, and they had to develop new rules about how those photographs, if they and how they qualify for such competing events. So it's something that we can't ignore. It's here, whether we like it or not. So I thought it would be beneficial for us to have an interesting conversation about what the role of artificial intelligence is and generative AI is within the Lego toy community. So one thing I'd like to set clear is we're not going to go over the ethics of AI. We are not qualified by any means to go over that in depth. The environmental impact is established. There's no debate around that. We all know it's negative. The ethics about whether AI is sampling from artists and stealing from artists' work, or what they call ethical AI, where it's only through explicit permission from the artist where their work gets sampled. We're not going to get into those debates. We're simply here to focus on AI as a tool, as a creative tool within the Lego photography, and whether it should have a role to begin with. So does anybody have any questions or concerns about that? Are we clear?
Can I just add a quick counterpoint?
Absolutely.
I know it's not about the ethics, but just in case our future robot overlords are, listening, I'm all for it. I love AI. I welcome you. Thank you. Here we are. To cover all the bases, just in case.
Okay, so Phil will not die in the first wave of the robotic uprising. All right, so the question, the biggest question is, when does AI stop being a tool and start changing the craft? Have either of you, Keith or Zork, have either of you experimented with this at all?
No, I haven't actually. Because to be honest, I've only recently started to shoot again. I'm not sure if you guys noticed. So I've been away for a while, but now like I'm starting to go back into it. I do see like some. I mean, while scrolling like Instagram, I do see certain works of AI being used in Lego photography, but I personally haven't started to dive into it yet. So I can't say for sure whether or not I'll like it, but yeah, so far not for me yet. But I see that you have used AI in your latest photo, the one with Wolverine and Captain America.
Captain
Was it
America?
Captain America? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So, well, real quick, back to you, Zark. We'll comment on that photo in a moment. Have you experimented at all?
On my side, I actually did I have already used AI in one of my pictures, and I do feel guilty about it because I never specified it because it wasn't such a big deal for me. But one, like the only picture where I did is the collab pics I did for Crosscheck. There was this picture with Spidey on the roof of a building, and I got the background from Google, but it was a high angle, and I wanted the lower angle version. So I just sent in the picture and asked ChatGPT to actually make it a low angle, which is the only time I used AI in my pictures. So the background is basically AI generated on this one. So that is the only experience of AI I have
That's pretty
so
clever.
far.
So, I am also feeling guilty, which I shouldn't, but knowing the public sentiment at this time, I did also experiment because I'm a graphic designer by trade. So it's inherent to me to have to stay up to date on the latest technologies that are out there, especially if there are things that could potentially threaten my job.
Mm.
I did experiment with my latest Wolverine versus Captain America photo. The angles and the figures are all shot naturally. The lighting was all pretty much done naturally. I did multiple exposures with different highlights, different areas because there's for those who aren't familiar, there's a picture of Wolverine slashing at Captain America's shield. There are sparks flying. There's a lot of ambient light from the sparks on Wolverine. All that ambient light was done naturally in camera. But then it's set in a setting that's sort of like a rainy street with raindrops falling down and everybody's all wet and stuff. Um, I had tried spraying water on my figures, which I've done in the past, but the figures themselves, the scale of the bubbles that were appearing on the figures was way too large. It was like, it was like cantaloupe-sized blobs of water on your arm. Imagine that. So I couldn't get that fine mist spray that I was trying for, and I tried several different bottles too, using generative AI tools within Photoshop. Was able, while actually using ChatGPT to help write a prompt, because I'm not a very skilled prompt writer. I talked to ChatGPT to say, well, help me write a prompt that I want to add water to my effects. I want it to scale to the Lego figures. I don't want to change anything about my Lego figures. I don't want to change the lighting, the position, the structure of anything. I just want to add the wetness. And so it's, spewed out a prompt, which I didn't put in Photoshop. And then it wasn't a one-hit magic button. It took maybe like 10 to 12 different tries. And in Photoshop, you only have so many credits that they give you per month. So I was using up credits, and it took a long time for me to find one that worked, and it didn't look like ridiculous, like they were in the middle of a flood. So that's my experience using AI. There's a couple others that I've experimented with in the past where I did this for an example, which we'll go over the poll I sent out to the community later. But I wanted to create an example of how AI could be used. And I guess that kind of goes into our next segment, is how people are actually using AI. I used it for special effects. Azork, you used it for your background. Some folks use it for rain, fog, lighting enhancements, cityscapes. So what I did was I took a picture. I had like zombies in the office, and it was like I used one of the rooms in the Daily Bugle set, and I had zombies in the office. And then using generative AI for Photoshop, I was able to add grime and blood and all stuff all over the place, and it looked I'm gonna lie, it looked flawless. And I'll post those images in the wrap up when I post this to Instagram. But that was my example I used for a poll that I put out a while back, which we're going to go over a little bit later to the community about how would you like to use AI.
One time you don't want to be using practical effects there, isn't it? Can you imagine the cleanup?
Having done like snowy, like practical snow using like flour and stuff in the past,
Ooh.
yeah, it can get messy quick.
Yeah, I remember that one. That one was with Darth Vader and Captain America as well.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about reposting it because it's been about a couple of years and I like kind of bumping
Yeah, I
these
saw
things to the
the
top.
Bruce Lee pic that you just reposted today. Was it
Yep.
today? Earlier today?
Yep.
Yeah.
I felt compelled
cool.
to post the Bruce Lee pic because that is
Uh-huh.
100% practical effect.
I know. I thought so. Yeah.
I was like, I just did this AI thing and people were probably frowning. I probably lost a few followers or whatever. And I was like, I got to post something that shows I know what to do in
But did you
camera.
actually lose followers for posting an AI picture?
I don't think I did.
Mm.
I don't think I did. And there was only one negative comment. And the comment, actually, I'll pull it up. And I don't feel like the comment was out of place. Because in my description, I mentioned that I used AI. I wanted to be upfront.
Yeah.
And I understood that it was a divisive subject, and I didn't want to disappoint fans of my artwork and whatnot. And one individual said, generative AI tools are bad regardless of how much rationalization someone uses to justify them. The tools are built on plagiarism, and the data centers are crushing communities. So at the end of the day, what people think of you when you use them is irrelevant to the harm that these tools are responsible for. And I was like, well, shit. That's a good comment. That's a good comment. And I didn't even like it. So now I just liked it now. But that was by Peter G. Cornell. So I'll give him credit for that. So at the same time, it's a weird rock and a hard place where I'm trying to figure out how do I stay up to date on technology for my job?
Yeah.
How do I be ethical about it? So I thought the best thing I could do was just be transparent about my process and just say, whether if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But the reception was very positive. And I want to say, I feel looking at some of the examples that I've seen that where people have used AI and it's not been very well done. Like they used it for a background and it was fairly poorly implemented or whatever. The lighting wasn't adjusted or whatever. I feel like people are more forgiving if the end result looks cool. I mean, if they just think,
okay,
if it's poorly done, people shit all over it. But if it looks cool, they're a little more forgiving, which I think is a little hypocritical, but I think that's what I've been witnessing so far.
Yeah, I do kind of.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think earlier Azork mentioned about using AI to create backgrounds for the photos. In that sense, because I was thinking of, so for example, yeah, so I was thinking about the latest Spider-Man trailer, right? There was this shot of Spider-Man just hanging upside down, and then you could see all the buildings like below him. I'm not sure if you remember. It's the opening shot of the trailer.
Yeah, he's on the girder.
Yeah. So that shot, I was thinking like how to create it, using like pretty practical, without using AI. And I thought that would be like a good example of a time where you should try, or whether I should try to use AI for that, to create that background, because I know I can't build like 100 buildings practically. So yeah, that would be a difficult task if I was to do it like practically. So that was the only time I thought like, hey, maybe I should try using AI to do that one scene.
That was my thought. Well, you're a really good mock builder on your own.
I'm not. I just try my best, really.
Well, you're really good at making you make these mocks that they may not look impressive, zoomed out, but when you zoom in, you set the scene, it looks very cinematic. And I don't have that skill, or I haven't quite cracked the code on mock building and getting parts organized in a way that I can quickly say, I need this, and this. So that's why with backgrounds, I've fallen more to using photography and, and in one or two cases using like AI photography to like get that certain angle. My biggest trick right now isn't even AI related. It's using for Spidey pictures, I pull up the Spider-Man game, the Sony Spider-Man game, and I go into photo mode.
Right. Yeah.
So I just swing around the city, and then I think I'm in a good spot. I turn on photo mode and I remove all the character models. I move the camera around, set up some light, move the sun where I need to have it, and then I take a snapshot. And that becomes my background for I've done that a number of times.
And if you start wondering why everyone in Brett's shots is now based in New York City, now you know why.
Well, it's hard to find those angles, like Samir was saying, you
Yeah,
want
it's true.
those certain angles. Actually, I think there was one other, if I'm sitting there trying to do an angle of like a skyscraper and I want to look like the camera's mounted on the wall of the building, I can't find that on Shutterstock. So, but using the Sony Spider-Man game as a way of freebirding my way around the way around the city, that's helped me a lot establish those really cool angles.
Is that the one with the you shot with the Amazing Spider-Man fig? Was that the one?
There's more than one Amazing Spider-Man. No, actually, that background. I think that background's actually AI.
Oh,
That was
awesome.
AI. That was my first attempt at an AI background. Yeah, that was my first attempt at an AI background. Captain America Wolverine was for effects. This is my first time using a background. And then, but for the Spider-Man ones, the most recent ones were the ones I did for Printer Toner Customs. Well, it is McGuire, red suit and black suit, and you're obscuring these things by blurring them and whatnot. So it's not like either can be picked apart easily.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, and then I think everything I did for Printer Toner, I've used Sony's thing. A couple of years ago, I think I'm going to repost it a couple of years ago for Mini Bigs for his Miles Morales picture. It's a picture of Miles jumping over a police car. That was all done. That's all in-game photography. And then I just took a screenshot and used it. But let's go back to AI instead of PlayStation.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? So we're saying, oh, this AI, how are we using AI? I don't think people understand that AI is more than a language learning model like ChatGPT or generating backgrounds. There are a lot of tools, like say within Photoshop, that are inherently AI driven nowadays, like generative fill or even the remove tool. So if you're trying to remove a rogue, like I've got 3 cats and 2 dogs, so there's always a rogue hair somewhere when I think I've taken the perfect shot. Taking that stuff out in post, I'm using the remove tool, which is just looks like a little paintbrush tool for those who aren't familiar. It's a little circle on my screen, and I just highlight and click and drag or whatever, and that's using AI. That's an AI driven. So you can say I don't use AI, but then you might not realize you're actually using AI based tools. So that's what I mean when I said earlier on that this stuff is everywhere, and you can practically can't avoid it. I mean, obviously there are other alternatives to Photoshop that you can use that aren't AI driven that you can use, but I found it to be quite a shortcut taker when trying to do menial tasks that I could do on my own, but would have taken hours traditionally.
To bounce back on what you said, Brett, I think that what you said about the fact that you have to stay up to date with like AI innovations when it comes to your professional life. You have this obligation to basically use AI, if I understood correctly. And I feel like on my side as a photographer, I wouldn't say I have this obligation, but we could have some kind of for example, you talked about the erasing tool that I think a lot of people use, and just imagine you don't use it. Well, you'll have, first of all, I think, trouble having the same output, but also some kind of frustration, in terms of end result. Like restricting yourself from using a certain tool that will allow you to make your pictures next level. So I think that this frustration related to maybe not using new tools could be a factor that, pushes people to using it. I kind of mixed my thoughts, but I hope what I said is a bit correct.
No, because you want to put your best foot forward and you want to make the best you can be. And when
Yes.
the tool's right there in front of you, I did a photograph of Lifebrick's Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, and naturally they printed on red legs. So the blue of the suit, as you turn the legs, forward or backwards, you can see the top of the leg is obviously not printed on. using the remove tool, I was able to. I just painted over the red part of because I had the legs bent. I just painted over the red part of the top of the leg. It instantly replicated the patterning. I did not expect that to happen. I was like, oh, let's see what happens here and give it a shot. And I literally was blown away. I was screaming out loud about how excited I was when this happened. And I almost left to let it go, but I was like, and didn't include it. But then I was like, why? Because it looks so much better the way it is, and I want to put my best foot forward. So,
Yeah, well, personally, I've always been very focused on the fact that the end result is the most important part in the end. Because I mean, you may have a sense of belonging on your work when it comes to the process, like you've used a certain practical effect you're proud of, so it makes you like the picture even more. But what, in my opinion, always mattered is the end result. So for now, I don't think AI is used as much, but I feel like if it is becoming more and more mainstream, I would have a hard time not using it and restricting myself in terms of end result when it comes to my pictures.
well said. I don't know, Keith. Are we getting you on the fence now about trying it out more?
The thing about me is like I'm so traditional, like I'm so old school. I to be honest, like I don't even know how to use AI, if I'm really being honest, because as you know, I shoot through my phone. So like if you talk about Photoshop, everything I use is just using my fingers and trying to like cleaning off a little dust speck on my phone. It's just like I just do very minimal editing if I can help it. Yeah, so yeah, if you talk about AI, like even earlier when I mentioned about the trailer that I wanted to try to replicate that scene. So Azork, I think you were away, but I was talking about this, the Spider-Man, the new movie. There's this shot in the trailer where like Spider-Man just hang upside down, and then you see the whole landscape, like all the buildings below. I was trying to think of how I can do that shot, and I only thought like AI would be the way, but then again, I don't know how to use AI. So it's like I think the first step would be learning how to actually use these tools, these prompts, as you mentioned. Yeah, because I'm really like a frog in a well.
My
Yeah,
first approach for that,
yeah,
because I recently did some shots of the Ancient One minifigure, and
yeah,
I wasn't going to try and do any kind of AI generation stuff for that. What I did was I would look for high-res trailer screenshots
I see it.
is what
Yeah.
I would do, and then see what kind of remove tool type technologies are out there that could possibly just remove the figure and the girder that he's sitting on, and then you can already have a clean plate, or maybe you can just find one, then crop it a little differently, and then have a clean plate, and then you don't have to worry about using any sort of prompts to create any sort of
So the
background.
thing is, so we mentioned about AI, right? Would you create using AI? Would you rather create a Lego building or just a building using AI?
I would rather create just a building. I would never want to create this. This is where I think it's a little deceptive. I would never use if I were to go further into this AI hole that we're talking about. I would never use it to create Lego materials. Like
Right. Okay.
I want a Lego building or I want a Lego street. No, I want anything that's going to be Lego in any of my work is going to be straight up physical Lego.
Hmm.
I've only been
Okay.
tapping onto the AI as a way to reach out and achieve things that I can't achieve naturally, like a building angle or a weather effect or a lighting situation. That's where it comes in for me. I would never use it to create. First of all, I don't know how good I'm sure it's gotten much better now. I know for a while it was pretty shitty. Trying to make Legos, just like how everything used to have like 5 or 6 fingers per hand, and now I can do hands just fine.
Maybe that's the line for Lego photography though. My Lego has to be tangible. It's for something I got to be able to reach out and actually touch it. It's no AI for that. I
Yeah,
got to be honest.
go ahead.
Between Sam and Keith, they did raise a good point though. You see, with AI in like Lego photography, from what I've seen, or just in photography in general, in order to sort of have it improve upon your picture, you've got to learn how to use AI effectively as well. So it's almost like a skill in itself, being able to use that tool to correctly sort of improve upon your picture.
Yeah,
So you could argue that there's even skill involved in having to use AI to an extent, you know?
I think that's a loaded statement, because people hear AI, they think it's one button click done,
Yeah.
and it takes the skill out, but you still have to know what looks good. And there are some telltale signs of when something's AI. Like if you see someone's picture and it looks like you're looking down a tunnel, like everything's symmetrical, like it's like a building street or a rainforest or whatever, it's probably AI generated. So so you have to learn how to, like, I don't know how to write prompts. So that's why I use ChatGPT to write the prompt to help me illustrate the feeling that it's crazy how simple it was to have a casual conversation. It was almost like I was vibe coding my prompt, where I was just saying, well, I've got a picture of Wolverine and Captain America fighting, and I would like to have it on a dark street in the rain, but I don't know how to do that. And then on ChatGPT was like, oh, well, we can do this and this and this. And if you like, I can do this. It's like, then it's like, are you using Photoshop? I can write a generative prompt that's friendly to Photoshop's tools. I'm like, fuck yeah, do that. So getting there took a lot of massaging. I mean, I think I worked on that Wolverine cap photo for like a week. And I would say 2 or 3 of those days were dedicated just trying to figure out how to write a prompt and finding and executing the prompt in a way that I felt looked good. And even still, I had to go in there and clean it up. There were things I took out for the effects that it applied that I didn't like. It had some fog in some places that I wanted gone. It had some rain in some places I wanted gone. Some splashes in places I wanted gone. So it wasn't like, hit the button and your magic happens.
Yeah.
But it definitely does take, there's an element of skill. But if you don't have your fundamentals, your understanding of color theory, your fundamentals of layout and design and how to, block things off and frame things, I don't think AI will make you better. I think it can make good people better, but I don't think AI itself will make you a better photographer by any means.
Yeah.
Just like Photoshop
I
has
think
all
at the
these
end of the day,
tools.
you are still the one that is creating that image. You are still the one that decides what is in that frame. If I'm I mean, if you understand what I'm saying, yeah. But
Yeah,
I
I
wanted
do.
to ask, because I'm
Yeah,
looking at
it's your vision, is what you're saying. It's your vision.
yeah.
But
Sorry, yeah.
yeah.
So it's your vision. So what I want to ask, because I'm looking at the picture right now, so I just want to ask, like, so there's the background, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a background. So did you blur out the background yourself, or was it the prompt doing that for you? Because I thought that having the background blurred actually added a lot more depth to the photo.
That was part of the
Yeah.
prompt of that, making it blurred.
Cool. So it did that for you.
Yes,
Nice.
I think.
Also, speaking about what you guys said previously about
Yes.
the Lego buildings, well, it's funny because as an experiment, I didn't intend to use it, but I wanted to recreate the No Way Home shot with Captain Boomerang. And one thing, it is because of you, Keith, I cannot stand anymore is having real buildings interact with Lego. Like now I feel like it's incompatible because
That's
when
why
I
I
see,
blur it.
yeah, exactly. I feel like they do not belong to the same universe. And since it is a in-city shot, I wanted to do it like with actual buildings. And I was just curious to see how AI would generate Lego buildings. Well, I can say that
yeah.
it is very bad at it. And also, it, like you said, Brett, it takes away all like the the reason to actually use Lego backgrounds in the first place. You want, like just Phil said, you wanted them to interact with your figures to have a more natural output. So I don't see the interest in it as well. So I totally agree with you guys. And also, I wanted to say, maybe if I do the devil's advocate about what you said, Brett, regarding the fact that you need to have an eye for photography to actually have great results with AI. Well, I feel like maybe AI could actually allow some people to indirectly learn, which means that, for instance, imagine that I have no knowledge on compositing or color grading or whatsoever. I just asked ChatGPT to generate something for me with a very vague prompt. So it gives me I hope, a great output where I can see how lighting can go. And I think that if someone keeps maybe doing this over and over and sees how AI actually transforms their picture, maybe that they can have a bit of a sense of understanding of how lighting can actually work. And I think it will, at term, if they only keep using AI, will help them have more precise prompts. But those more precise prompts would require the fact that they do understand what's going on in a picture maybe better. But that's like, I think that it can be indirectly a nice learning tool, but I don't know. Just I had
No,
this
it makes
thought in
sense.
mind, so
I equate it to with imagine if you had an artist that you admire draw, like you have an original character that you like to draw, and you have an artist go to a convention and they draw your original character. You get to see their interpretation of it and how they frame it out and how they do the anatomy and whatnot, and the clothing and structure, and you can learn. So I agree with what you're saying, but I think it's only for people that are wanting to learn.
yes.
I think there's, and I only say this because I've seen a rash of really shitty AI art. I think there are some people that just push the button and they think it's done and they don't try to learn to see what was done. You can only polish a turd so much. It's still a turd.
You said, well, AI generated Lego not looking right. I suppose that's like with CGI people, like an uncanny valley. But is there a term for inanimate objects that don't quite look right? Or is it still the uncanny valley?
I guess it's still uncanny valley.
Yeah, it's not good with actually understanding Lego anatomy. And I'm glad about it, because one thing I absolutely dislike about AI usage is actually generating figures. Figures should
Yeah.
be the only thing that's real in their pictures.
Yeah, that and
I've seen.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking, like, I saw some AI images of like Lego, whereby their arms are just like too long, or like something's just not right with the head, with their face, their expressions, and it's just bad.
Yeah.
I suppose it could be good. Like, you got this there's a niche part of our community where people come up with fake CMF lines,
Mm-hmm.
like a Breaking Bad CMF line. So I suppose I mean, they whatever they
Yeah.
do, they're great at what they do as it is. But I suppose AI could benefit that as well to an extent, couldn't it? Stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, we still want those fakes to actually be printed and to spend all our money on them, but that
Yeah.
never happens, does it, with us?
Yeah, but so this is where I would say the alternative is that they have to sit down and they'll have to like learn Blender or something and learn how to model, which could take a lot. So if AI got better and someone didn't have the resources to afford certain editing tools, I can see why they might want to gravitate towards using AI to help bring their creations to life. But as long as I think transparency is probably one of the bigger reasons why there's a lot of animosity towards the AI as well, outside of course the ethics of what we discussed at the beginning of the episode.
I mean, I can appreciate it. I can definitely appreciate people who put a lot of work and time into these things, and they would get frustrated if someone comes along and uses a tool. But as an outsider here, you guys are all talented motherfuckers, right? And I'm not, okay? I honestly, the things that all of you create, I could spend 20,000 hours trying to get there, and it would never be at the same level. And with Keith and all practical effects, that's quite frustrating. You think, Christ, you've just basically pointed a camera and done better than I could do if I spent 20,000 hours trying to do it. So for me, I could, learn the background, like you said, and then use it as a tool. And it would help people like me who aren't that talented to perhaps allow our vision to be seen. Like Sam said, it's your vision, and that's what art is. It's your vision, isn't it? But if you can't quite get to that vision yourself, it helps you bridge that gap. Never actually going to reach you guys, but at least I can have a picture that looks nice.
Yeah,
let's face it, you'll know though. If you ever see me post a picture that looks nice, you'll know it's AI straight away.
Yeah.
Now I gotta look up Phil's account real quick because I know he's posted some zombie stuff in the past.
Yeah, and Phil, it also allows you to actually have an image on your thoughts. Since like if you don't
that's
have a
true.
certain like technical knowledge,
Yeah.
you can at least, like, AI can be a way to actually
Help you
manifest in
visualize
a way. Yeah, exactly.
your ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be honest with you guys. I've tried to take shots of things that I've had in my head before, and I've spent days not being able for it to come out nice, and I've just not bothered posting in the end. Or sometimes I have posted, and I've thought, oh god, that looks awful, But because it's like, to me, it's just I'm not that creative, and I'm not that talented at any of this, and I don't think it's something like it's one of those things you either have it or you don't. The eye for it, you can't learn it, and. So yeah, I can see its benefits, but I can also see how then when you've spent hours and hours doing something, like I can imagine Keith staging his shots or Azork with all your edits. Do you know what I mean? I can appreciate how if I came along and just hit a few buttons, how that would be very frustrating as well.
So you're saying you can use the AI as sort of a staging ground, a way to get your thoughts on paper?
Staging ground, or for example, if I want to design a fig, well, like I said, I've said to you many times, if I could actually design figs, there'd be 8 million zombies out there right now, But I can't. But if I could use AI to perhaps finish my awful doodles of those figs, help me realise that vision that I'm seeing in my head, Technically it's still my vision, but I've had to use a little robot helper to get there, if you get what I mean, So it could aid creativity instead of impede it.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may criticize, I mean, this argument came from me, but if I may even criticize it more, I think the trap of this way of thinking is just maybe that you would like condemn yourself to not have a certain talent. So actually rely on AI rather than actually trying in the end to learn. I stumbled across a video of someone who actually was defending AI. It was drawing AI, and he was saying that he uses AI because he doesn't have a talent for drawing. But maybe I'm a bit idealist here, but I think that as a human being and someone who can think clearly, you can learn practically anything you want. You have enough will for it. So I think that the only trap is that AI could like conflict with your willpower to learn a skill, which, like Brett said, would result in relying like only prompting and clicking a button and having a picture and not looking at it or learning from it. So I think that would be the only trap I would say for someone who doesn't have a basic knowledge in something and wants to do stuff with AI.
That's fair.
Good point.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't want to become a crutch. Yeah.
I'll be honest, it probably would for me if I was able to, make a good picture once with it. But now I'll just do it again, Yeah, fair point. So slippery slope. This is how they're going to take over, see, guys.
Do you feel? Let's see. What other questions that I have? So we already covered about making the hobby more accessible this way. Do you feel like it's going to water things down? Do you think we're just going to see a rash of Lego quote unquote photographers that are using nothing but AI? I mean, how do you think it's? Do you get insulted when you see AI? Well, how should I put this? Some people take offense when they see an AI generated image, as if it takes away from what they've created. They spent their time and energy creating. Because, and this is not just because they're focused on likes or comments or reach, but they see something that was done and they presumably they feel it took less talent, less skill, less talent, less time, so they hate on it because they've spent so much time, skill, and energy in trying to do what they're doing. Do you feel that with the proliferation of AI in the Lego photography space growing, because it is growing, do you feel that takes away from what you're doing, or you're just going to keep driving on to doing what you do?
I mean, since you mentioned earlier that I think you said earlier that everything you try to do using AI is via like a prompt, right? Like you
Yes.
have to, So I think further down the line, maybe the conversation would be like, what prompt did you use? I mean, it's even there in comments right now. Like sometimes I'll see like, oh, what prompt did you use? Like for an AI image to happen. So I think maybe down the line, maybe when you see two AI generated Lego photographs, right? I think the conversation would be, well, what prompt did you use to get that image, or to get that lighting, or whatever, like. So I think maybe that could be the conversation. But for me personally, like when I see AI and AI image right now, to be honest, I don't feel much, because I feel like you have the right to create an image, like whatever image you put out there, it's what you do. So I mean, maybe I just don't care enough, but I still expect it,
Yeah, I really just whatever.
I
you
mean,
do
I'm
you
not
and-
bothered. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not bothered by it. Yeah, but I mean, if somebody is to say that that AI work is better than what I do, than my photographs, then I mean, then it's really up to what you like as an individual, whether you like AI generated stuff or you're okay with like, or you prefer like old school photography, which is what I do. So it's really boils down to the individual, I guess.
I think
Yeah.
it's the transparency is what bothers me the most, is the folks that are using it and it's obvious and they're not being transparent. So
Right.
they'll get all this praise, and this is where I guess it does bother me, because they'll be getting all this praise and, wow, fantastic shot, it's amazing. Well, I'm like, thank you. And there's this one guy, and I'll leave it to the
Uh-huh.
audience to figure out who it is. There's this one guy I follow who's made it very clear he uses no AI in his art. He's like done the whole no AI with the circle slash, and I was like,
Okay.
dude's using fucking AI. I know he is. I can tell.
Lego photography?
He's a Lego photographer, and just like, yes, I think he has some incredible Photoshop skills, but there's a few times the background, I'm like, that background is not natural. There's just no way.
Yeah.
And that's like, just, I guess it's the stigma of not wanting to be hated on, so they don't want to admit it, which I understand. But, just own up to it and just say, this is what I did, this is why I did it.
Yeah.
Like it or hate it, whatever.
I personally agree with you, Keith, on the fact that I don't especially feel offended when I see some AI work, because I've come to a point where the pictures I do are mainly for me. Like the most, once again, like, one thing you need to understand about me is that I'm a very contradictory person. Like, I have many mixed opinions on many stuff. I was talking about the fact that what like is more important is the end result, but I personally enjoy more the process, and it is for the process that I actually shoot my stuff, because it helps me get my thoughts away from other parts of my life. So in the end, as long as I have this result, this feeling from my shots, I do not care about what's going on like other medias. Like, if someone's using a shortcut, or if someone's using a tool that makes his stuff better than mine, I don't think much about it. Like, the only thing I get from seeing other people's work is basically inspiration for my own stuff, like making my vision clearer, and like, sometimes you see stuff you don't think about. So that's the only
Yeah.
thing I look at when I see pictures. But at the end of the day, since it's just a hobby, it's not too personal for me as well. Like, my career isn't impacted about the fact that someone's using AI or not. So that is why I don't care much about it.
Speaking of inspiration, just before I forget, Keith, your Tony Stark post you did recently, the Demon in a Bottle.
Yeah.
First of all, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful shot where you've got the
you.
helmet canted in the side and all. But it kind of gave me inspiration. I want to do my own inspiration. You're going to see within the next couple of weeks. You're going to see me try and do something similar.
Yeah. Do it. Funny thing about it, that shot was that wasn't what I originally planned to do. So I had so many different ideas. Like, so when I think about a minifigure, especially now, I don't know, I kind of like think about music as well as like the photo. Like, these two to me comes hand in hand. Like, nowadays when I think of like posting a shot, so like the Demon in the Bottle shot was because I thought that the first one that I did, I think the one that you were talking about in the podcast, like way before, like in an episode with I think Adam and I think Azork was in there as well.
Yeah, it was the.
So yeah. So that shot, I wanted to show like a different side of that same idea, but more of like just showing Tony Stark's face. And I really love like Adam's facial expressions, like in his custom figs, right? So I actually took the shot of Tony Stark was actually from one of his figs. I think it's the Racer Tony Stark, the one in the Iron Man 2, the Racer custom fig. Yep, Tony Stark is that head. So I wanted to show more of his expression, but actually I had so many ideas. So I wanted to shoot him. Like, I wanted to I'm so bad at explaining myself, but yeah. So I wanted to create, like, how do I say it?
It's a very emotive piece. It's a very emotive piece.
But I thought what did the work for me was actually the Citizen Break, the
computer pieces.
The computers, yeah. I think those really made the shot work. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's a Captain America shield,
Yeah, the prototype tile.
the prototype tile there. So actually, I like putting little tidbits, in these photos. Yeah, so I thought, yeah, and surprisingly, I think this shot got a lot of attention,
It really
to
did.
my surprise. Yeah, comparing to like the more recent ones. Yeah.
What you meant,
Yeah.
Keith,
Hmm.
about what
Sorry.
you were saying, if I understood well, is that when you have an idea, you have
Yeah.
an emotion that's related to it, and you would like the audience to feel the same way, right?
Yeah. So to me, I see it more of like creating moods,
Yeah.
through song or through photo or through lighting. I think for me, lighting is such a big aspect of any photo I take, because like it creates like depth, like how it creates emotion, it creates depth. And yeah, I think it's one of my most important like weapons, like in creating any photo I take. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I've always admired your framing. It's always just so good. Even small tidbits you do, like you'll do like a small Dutch angle where you'll tilt the scene a little bit on an angle.
Yeah.
I picked that up from you. From Azork, I picked up introducing motion blur on some elements to kind of give that feeling of cinematic life.
Yeah.
Not to derail from AI. Sorry, I just
Mm.
you were talking about inspiration, and that I had that picture on screen, so it was something I always wanted to make note. But
Definitely one element where AI is always going to come behind as well, isn't it? There's no inspiration. There's no flash of inspiration, whereas you guys, how you decide to frame something and that, you're not going to get that same level of thought from AI here, because it can't really think for itself,
yeah, well, that's where going back to what I was saying earlier, having the basics
Yeah.
I mean, I watch a lot of what's this YouTube channel, Corridor Crew. They're an SFX house, special effects house, and
Mhm.
they do a lot of special effects breakdowns and whatnot. But they also do a lot of interviews with cinematographers and directors. And I find by I feel like we're still creating movies. We're just creating a single frame of a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so by watching them, I've learned a lot, especially in terms of how things should react, in terms of ambient occlusion and all these types of technical terms that revolve around how light interacts with its environment. And that's where I get my knowledge for when I do my special effects in my photography and my editing. AI can't really do that as far as I can.
Mm.
Maybe I'll get there one day, but as far as right now is concerned, what I experimented with, it doesn't know how to compensate for certain things, like subsurface scattering, which is like, say, like you ever shine a flashlight behind your ear and you can see how the light shines through your ear and gets all red and stuff, or you've shine a flashlight over your finger and you can kind of see through your finger a little bit. It's called subsurface scattering. There's no way that really, I don't think AI can really compensate for that kind of stuff right now. But those are ways that make your stuff look more realistic and more cinematic. So do you feel this is cheating?
Mhm.
Let me give you some scenarios. Like cheating in the sense of like you got to remove some dust. You use the remove tool. You want to change your crop. You need to expand the canvas to the left. So you use generative AI to kind of like add a little bit more
Yeah.
to create that background. Or you just have it create an entire background and add, like I said, rain effects and stuff. Is it cheating in any of these scenarios? Or is it just exploring new tools and creativity?
Yeah.
It's efficiency as well, isn't it? Like, imagine, like in the movies, rotoscoping people, that's supposed to be an absolute bitch of a thing to do, isn't it? So I imagine you'd want to use AI to speed that process up, but it doesn't take away from the art you're creating, if you get what I mean,
I've been using Photoshop so long. The first iteration of Photoshop I used, it wasn't even a layers palette. You were on one layer. That's it.
Wow.
So I guess my point is things evolve. My take on this question is things evolve and you need to evolve with it.
Well,
to increase your
personally,
efficiencies.
Are we speaking in a mainly like only hobby point of view, from a like fully hobby point of view, or
As it pertains to Lego photography?
okay? So, well, to me, it all comes down to the amount of usage the amount of reliance you have regarding those tools. Like, for example, in my opinion, the dust removing tool is something that shouldn't even be a debate. Like almost everyone uses it. But you mentioned the example of a background, extending the background, and that's something I came on to doing like manually, which is, having one background, extending it and taking elements from like the left and put it on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And well, to answer your question, I think it all depends on if you care about the result or the process. Because in terms of process, well, it will give you a bigger sense of, like, I don't know what would be the word in English, like the picture truly belongs to you more if you spend more time and do more stuff manually rather than doing it with AI. So I think if you have this will to have a big sense of belonging on your work, then I think it is important to not rely much on AI, even when it comes to tool like background extending tools. But if you are more focused on the end result, why not? Why restrict yourself if you have such an amazing tool that would do something you will take like 2 times, like a lot more time doing it rather than using it with AI.
That's fair. It's like I think I remember when the clone stamp tool was introduced, and people would start debating whether you should be using that, whether it was ethical or not, or you should just reshoot your entire project because everything should be natural in camera. I think as these tools evolve, there'll be more acceptance over time. But as new things come along, there's always this grudge against new innovations that make things easier. And again,
Yeah.
this is fully acknowledging the terrible, terrible environmental impact on AI and the data centers and their communities and whatnot. We're not disregarding that. But in terms of Lego photography or photography in general, every time there's a new tool or innovation that makes things easier, there's always a side of the things or there's always a camp that's always against it because they think it's cheating. It's not true art. It's not you putting yourself out there and truly creating. You're letting the machine do it for you. And then over time, that acceptance grows. Like I said, there was that literally I remember back in the day, there was debates about the clone tool. Okay. The clone stamp tool, which is a pretty innocuous tool nowadays that anyone uses at any time
Yeah.
to get rid of imperfections.
Is
They were like,
so hang on. So is using clone stamp, is it cheating using clone stamp now?
no, I don't
you
think
think?
anyone would tell you it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there are
'Cause I
those
use it
purists that are
all the
like, I
time.
shoot 100% in camera. I don't do any editing. And that's the leg they stand on. And some of them, some folks are even like, for action toy photographers, they still leave the minifigure stands that prop the figure up in mid-flight. They won't even remove that. They're like that big of a purist. But I'm like, get that shit out of here. I don't want that's a distraction.
I know. I'm the same.
So
Don't they have to edit out those frames then though themselves? So even that, in essence.
yeah, they won't. Some photographers don't. They leave them in
Right.
there.
So if you were to throw a PNG at one of them, they'd be like, no, get it away.
Pretty much. So let me ask this other question. Knowing that we know that provides a bit of a speedy way of getting things done. If you looked at two images and they were identical, right?
Mhm.
One used AI and one did not. Would you value one any differently than the other?
Wow.
There's no wrong answer. There's just your answer.
Well, personally, I think I'd value okay, I'm not directly answering it because it's a tricky one, but I would value the one that took the most time, I would say. And it could, like, then naturally that would mean that I would value the non-AI one, like on
Well, you're assuming the
position.
non-AI one took the
Yeah,
most time.
yeah,
What if someone
exactly.
spent weeks refining their prompts and trying
Yeah,
to get things right?
that's the thing.
Oh.
So it's a tricky one because I think nowadays we don't have we don't realize the weight of what it is to make a prompt and have like write the perfect vision you have. I think people don't realize. I think that's also something natural when it comes to innovation. You have this vision of almost a vision of this innovation as magic almost. So you don't realize the weight of it and the time it takes. So from my point of view, I would say I would value the non-AI one more, but I know that's a trap because I don't fully realize how long and complicated making a prompt will be.
All right, here's an example of a prompt. This is the Urban Cool Toned Evening Prompt. Okay, that's what they titled it. Quote, adjust the overall lighting to a cool toned urban setting with no direct sunlight. Use soft ambient lighting with blue and cyan color tones, creating a subtle nighttime atmosphere. Lower overall brightness and introduce a gentle contrast while preserving detail. Add diffused indirect lights coming from surrounding city sources, such as distant streetlights or buildings. Incorporate soft cool shadows with minimal warmth. Maintain the exact same structure, pose, and details of the Lego subject with no alterations. Ensure lighting remains naturally and directionally consistent across the scene. That's a prompt. It's
Wow.
not put my Legos on a building and make it nighttime. Yeah,
It's scary that a machine can even interpret that, really. Let's face it.
the machine wrote that. That wasn't even.
Like, yeah,
That's
wrote down.
insane.
Oh, yeah.
The machine was like, I wrote. This is what I wrote. How do I write a prompt to change the overall lighting of a Lego photo to reflect more of a setting in the evening? And then I, refined it a little bit more and more and more just to see if it would work. And it broke it down like optional enhancements to make things more cinematic or more sunset specific or more moody twilight.
Can I? Sorry, Brett. Can I just ask, like, so you're using this prompt, right? But can you ask AI to, like, with whatever you just mentioned about a particular scene, can you actually get it to reference like a Lego movie, for example? So they get the imagery from like the Lego movie.
So
in
understanding
that,
we're diving into the ethics of sampling being derivative work.
Yeah,
the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I had done a post of Printer Toner Customs White Queen figure from Marvel Rivals.
Okay.
I took the screenshot of the and I have it in my history here because I was curious if I could pull this off. And I said, if I upload a photo, can you provide a Photoshop prompt to create a similar look and feel? And he replied, yes, absolutely. And the reply was, if you upload a photo, I can analyze its lighting, color grading, composition, mood, textures, and effects, and write you a Photoshop generative fill prompt or multiple variations that creates a very similar look and feel. And so I had a still shot of the winnings of White Cross Queen's MVP cinematic from Marvel Rivals. I loaded it in there, and it read it. It said, great reference image. This is a very distinct ethereal cyberpunk crystalline energy burst look. I'll give you a Photoshop generative fill optimized prompt, plus a couple variations and pro tips to keep your Lego figure untouched. And if you want to know the result of this, go look on my profile and go look at the White Queen.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
And,
so this is with reference to how it looked in the game, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see if this will. I can send you the link to the image later. I'll send it into your. I don't know if it's actually going to work, but I'll put it in our discussion thread. The
you
image
can
I
see
used.
there how that does take away from the artist, though. I mean, you think about it, like Keith, you've often sort of shared the process with us. You post, don't you? You show your sketches. The early stages of what you're planning for a photo. Then sometimes you might share like a partial build that you've done before you get to the actual shot that you've staged. So you think about it, you kind of prompt yourself in that respect, don't you? You write
Absolutely.
your own
I
prompt.
I love watching your stories.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. That's what I'm saying. See, technically, what AI does is it takes that initial prompt, but then where Keith puts everything together himself, so all the lighting, he's had to figure that out. That's where the robot takes over. So that's what it's completely taken away from the artist. But if Keith was to use AI just to go through a couple of different scenarios for lighting and such, I wouldn't think that takes anything away because that's still Keith doing all the work. If you get what I mean,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Kind of an acceptable double standard, isn't it? If a schlub like me was able to make a picture that looked like something you guys would put out, that I'd be using probably 99% AI, and 1% skill. Whereas if you do it, it is just a tool. We know that you're capable of these shots prior to AI's existence, if you get what I mean. So I see, kind of an acceptable double standard, really.
What is your process for prototyping out your shots? Like, I know Keith draws because he shares his drawings on his Instagram stories. I picture it in my head and mull it over in my head for a while and then try to replicate what's in my head. Probably not the smartest way of doing it. What is your process?
Well, personally, when it comes to posing the figures, I think I already showed you, but I have like this sample figure that I posed.
Yeah,
But
no, I copy you on that one.
yeah,
I got a white
but
model figure that's covered in sticky tack that I use to experiment.
but when it comes to, well, it's been quite a while I haven't done proper shots. By proper shots, I mean pictures for myself. Like since I think August of 2025, it's been only promotional work, so it's a different process, but the thinking is similar in a way that I usually have a very blurred vision in my mind, and when I have the background and the figure, I just figure it out. And there's been a lot of time where I told myself, "Oh, I got very lucky that I pulled this pose and this angle and this lighting on the moment." So I don't know if it's a succession of luck or just the fact that I have a great improvising skills, but yeah, I am not
You're a
very
savant.
organized.
You're a savant, aren't you? That's what it is.
Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, there's been a lot of time where I didn't intend to do such a shot, but by fidgeting with the figure, the lights, I just have it, and I'm like, it doesn't have to move, and I just shoot it, and I'm like, I was very lucky to have like all the circumstances align on the pose, the lighting, and the angle that I didn't think about beforehand. So I have, I think, a very disorganized way of shooting, but this is something I have like in my everyday life. I'm not a very organized person, and my way of thinking is quite messy. So the process is as messy as me when it comes to shooting.
But it bloody works, mate. I can tell you that, honestly. Both you,
Thanks.
Seriously,
you,
don't.
you and Keith, when you put a post up, I forget it's Lego sometimes because it looks like whatever you're depicting a scene in a movie or a TV show. So you can actually forget that it's Lego you're looking at. It's so like perfectly recreated,
Have you
Thanks, man.
tried the harmonize tool in Photoshop yet?
You're talking to me? Well, I do not use Photoshop, so I haven't
That
tried
drives me crazy. The fact when Keith's like, "Oh, I just use my phone," I was like, "Everything you've done has been on your phone." That's just insane to me. I'm here
Well,
using
same thing.
Sam, you only
I'm
use your
just like
phone, don't you?
Keith.
Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
you saying that as well.
I guess, and Sunsol Chicken Bricks. He also uses just his phone.
He was from Soonsal's pictures were so good. He was using a Galaxy S10, and this was like almost a decade after the Galaxy S10 was released. And
Yeah,
I couldn't understand how he was getting such good pictures from a phone like that. My phone was like 3 generations after, and I'm like, what are you doing that I'm not doing?
yeah. I've moved from my phone, which is currently have a Pixel 8 Pro.
Yeah.
My Pixel 10's out now, but I've moved on to using my wife's camera because she never uses it, and I still do all my editing on my desktop. I don't know how you guys do everything on such a tiny screen on your palm of your hand. It's incredible.
Well, same. I actually started shooting with this camera where like the promotional stuff is easier to do, but I tried editing on my computer, but I'm so used to the phone, like it's so convenient that even when sometime I'm like not home, I can like do the editing that I cannot imagine not editing on my phone now.
Well, I think maybe once. Well, who was it? I think it's Ivy Watu. He does everything on a tablet, and he has a lot of special effects and stuff on his, and it's just incredible. I love watching his process. He always does like a video breakdown of his special effects. He's a really prominent action figure photographer. He does things. He's doing promo work for Hot Toys now, Size Social Collectibles. Recently did a series for Moon Knight and The Thing of Fantastic Four. So it's really cool. So
Okay, so sorry, just to
Go ahead.
sidetrack from the AI topic, right? Like what motivates you guys to take photos right now? do you have like any particular motivation? Like I know like Azork was saying like he's been just doing like promotional images, but I mean to that like do you get to be creative in your shots or like because I feel like doing promotional work is very different from just shooting what you want to shoot. So I don't know, do you feel like obligated that you have to do something that it takes away from your the creative side of you? Or like I mean because I know personally like I know that you're a very creative person. So, like so how do you deal with that?
Well, personally, I've been like
Hmm.
on a part of my life where I wouldn't say I don't have the time. It's just that I cannot find the time myself. Like I said, I'm a very disorganized person, so I have trouble finding time and like shooting for myself. So this whole promotional stuff for me is a way to still keep shooting and doing something I like with having some
Yeah.
kind of obligation, because I have to, like, when I receive figs from tier one, I have a week frame to shoot them. So sometimes I do not really have the time. Like I think I do not have the time, but then I find a way to organize myself, and it's just a matter of me not being organized enough. So I do find the time. So I
Okay.
think it is a great way to obligate myself to still shoot. But the question you asked about creativity is an interesting one, because
Mm.
we had a lot of debates with Adam when I show him the pictures on which one should be the cover shot. Because when I do
Mm.
those pictures,
Yep.
we discussed a lot with Adam. The main goal is to show off the figure. But then since it's like multiple pics, I can do some more action ones. So I try to still have this like creative freedom when it comes to those pictures, and Adam and tier one and even cross check really allow this to, like, they tell me to do it because this is something I like, and I think it is interesting to enjoy what you do to have a great result. But we do have some debates when it comes to which picture will be the cover shot, because I always want it to be the one that looks the nicest, the most creative
Yeah.
one. But it has to be the one which shows off the figure better. But yeah, I don't like I don't feel hindered in terms of creativity when it comes to those shots. But yeah, it is a different way of thinking for sure. Like it isn't something I would like do myself.
Mm.
I haven't had the restriction you've had, but I haven't worked with tier one or cross check in that regard. But for the promo shots that I've done, is it Prayer Toner, Big Guy, Manos, Wonderful, all those guys. The only reason I agreed to do the photography is if I have full creative control of how of what gets
Right.
posted. Because I mean, I say, look, I said, I want to do something that's really cool, exciting, and then I'll do a standard product shot that shows all the parts laid out and all this other stuff. You get a standard little catalog shot. But for the most part, I want full control over, you know, full disclosure, I get a couple of free figs on the side, which is great. But
Yeah.
I would gladly give up free figs if it meant creative control.
Well, personally, I do not mind having this creative control because I see it as a clash of passionate people. Because the main person that I shoot for, and which gives me a lot of great feedbacks on my pictures, is Adam. And Adam is also very passionate about his
Clarify,
designs.
Adam is Phoenix Customs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
so everyone understands.
Okay.
He really he's so involved in his designs, like he gives like his heart into it. So I would understand his perspective that he wants it to be like well displayed, but then we always find a way to come to an agreement. Like there's me who wants the cooler picture, he who wants the picture that shows off his design the best. So I can understand it, and honestly, I do not mind it. And also he's a great friend of mine, so it's always a pleasure to have his work shot in the best way possible.
Imagine sometimes conflict might even help with your creativity as well, to an extent, mightn't it?
Absolutely. We a couple of times there was a action shot that wouldn't show the figure much, and one still shot that I found too bland, and it made me think of a way of having a hybrid version of both. So both would we like both of our views would come to an agreement on it. So it's always, I think, shooting with some constraints could be a great way to think, because you think out of your, I would say, comfort zone maybe.
Yeah.
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 I
Absolutely.
asked this question. It was maybe wondering if that much sort of control over your photos might hinder your motivation to an extent. Like, Keith, you plan your shots so meticulously. I imagine you wouldn't like anyone telling you how to do your Lego, but you've also done official Lego work, haven't you? So how was that experience for you?
So actually, I like shooting within things that are within my control, like the buildings that I build, etc., etc. But so when the Lego set was given to me, it was this Monkey Kid set, like the big mech. I'm looking at it right now, like it's like huge. So it's like how am I gonna shoot this big robot thingy? That is so like not me. So yeah, so to that extent, I thought yes. I mean, one, I'm thinking out of the box of how I should shoot this. So it does challenge you creatively, like whether or not how you want to best showcase whatever is given to you in the set. But personally, I feel some sort of pressure doing promo shots. Yeah, that I'm not necessarily a fan of, but yeah, that's why I thought, like, for Azork, for example, and then even Brett, who is doing promo shots now, like I thought, how would it challenge you, or would it take away your creativity, like given that it may not be something that you particularly like,
Well, like I said, I've been given full creative control, so I really haven't had any. They really just give me full trust, which is great. However, they're also part of the partnership resolves itself into a lot of collaborator posts where they post their announcement, their reveal, and I don't like having those on my page. I just want my artwork on my page.
I
So
know.
sometimes I'm like, oh, like, or I'll post something and then I get hit by like Boss Harris, like, oh, here's 3 new posts that highlighting our new fig. Like, you just buried my new post, dude.
Yeah.
That's
But
funny it's funny that you mentioned that, because I spoke about it to Adam too. I'm starting to have my own stuff buried with the promo shots too. And since, like I said, the cover shots aren't the ones that I like the most from a creative point of view, I'm starting to remove them like progressively from my main page, because while I love doing it because it keeps me attached to the photography in a context where I cannot find the time myself, I'm a bit bothered by the fact that it's burying my more creative stuff. So
yeah.
I absolutely understand.
So we took a major left turn here from our discussion on AI.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring it on
No.
back. But
Yeah.
it's hard. It's when you get a bunch of creatives together, you really want to pick each other's brain, and it's exciting to be able to talk to you guys face to face, or camera to camera.
Yeah.
But wanted to wrap this up. I did a poll back when I released the Captain America Wolverine shot. I created a form in Google Forms that was about AI and its place in Lego art, and I just want to share the results. And I'll put these also in the wrap up on Instagram so you guys can see the charts. I got 70 responses, which is not too bad, not ideal. I would
Okay.
have liked to gotten over 100, but I got 70 responses on a scale of 1 to 10. It averaged between 5 and 8 on their understanding of AI. So it seemed like it was a self-declared, pretty learned group of individuals that understood AI. The question of what is your general opinion on AI? There was negativity. I would say 42% felt it didn't care for it, but it had its uses. 20% were 100% against it in all its forms, and 32% were they like it, but they had their reservations about it. And there was a small little percentage of 3% that was like, "Oh, I love AI, to death." Going back to the AI's environmental impact, which I've mentioned previously, 80% understood its impact, and it bothers them. 7% was like, "Yes, I know, but I don't care," and then a combination of 11 and 2% were like, no, I don't know, but I don't care, or I don't, or I might want to learn more. Do you use AI in any shape or form? It was pretty much split across the board, with 42% saying they don't use it at all, and 42% saying they use language learning models like ChatGPT. In terms of our arena of using Photoshop, it was only 24% that uses AI tools, generative fill, that kind of stuff. What is your opinion on AI used in Lego still photography? This is after I provided an example of special effects. I mentioned that I made a zombie scene and added blood and guts. 50% do not use it at all. That was a hard line. 43% said 5 used for special effects and backgrounds, and 7% were like they don't care either way. But so basically, it was a 50-50 straight down the middle, pro and against. Of all the people that have responded, I asked if they used AI in their Lego still photography. 64% said no. Then I started diving into Lego animation. Now, if you notice, animation was absent from this discussion. I didn't have any animators to bring on board. There were several that I wanted to reach out to, but I just felt AI in photography would kind of cover the broad basis, and animation is a whole other subject that maybe I can have another episode about. But I did ask if people were animators, and only 8% said yes. Of those 8%, what is your opinion on AI using Lego animation? 61%, not 50, 61% was against it. So there was a lot more negativity towards AI using animation than it was in still photography. And I have several statements here by comments that people provide additional commentary. Feel free to chime in if you have any additional commentary on these. Someone says it looks tacky as fuck when used as a background, which I agree it can be. AI is the devil, and it is such an immediate turnoff for me that I have to heavily consider the brands I buy from. When Citizen Brick decided to use AI backgrounds, I was disgusted. I don't recall Citizen Brick using AI backgrounds, but they apparently thought so. Here's a more balanced comment. Generative AI sucks, but as a whole is used as a tool to assist, I think is okay. I think of tool usage as in like film industry. Maybe it can translate something as a draft, and someone can come in and go over it and correct it. So Phil, that goes back to your earlier commentary.
Yeah. To be honest, that's kind of what it should be in general. I mean, the games industry is the same as well. There's been some criticism there recently about the use of generative AI. But like, I think Sven Vinnick, the CEO from I can't remember the name of the bloody company, the ones who do Baldur's Gate, Larian. He said that it's used as a placeholder, so it's just there temporarily to help build a scene, and then you work on it afterwards. Which again, translate that to things like Lego photography and art. Again, I would think would be completely acceptable.
Yeah. Some other comments. I'm not going to go through all these. There's a lot, but I'll post it in the wrap up. Use responsibly in moderation as a support element to your own creation, especially if you modify the results with your own artistic touches, then AI seems acceptable. Some were AI should not replace human creativity or art. No denying it can enhance pics, but it's not worth the cost of the planet. So sadly, far too many are not aware of the damage being done. Someone just replied, nope. That's all they wrote. Nope. 100% against the use of AI in Lego photography. It's lazy and not creative at all. We will not like or share any that has used AI. I don't know if I agree with that one completely, but I respect their opinion. It cheapens the craft of photography and animation, is a comment.
Yeah, I think maybe there's a lack of understanding of what goes into the process of shooting something and the general knowledge of photography. Like, maybe the person who did this comment isn't very aware of how the process goes to make a picture, which would make them take the shortcut of laziness when it comes to their opinion on AI, maybe.
Some of it as well could just be that whole blanket statement thing. There are people who, instead of thinking of all the different degrees, they just blanket hate or love something, and that's not to diminish anyone's personal opinion, that's voted. But I think sometimes some people are just so against it just because it's there. Sometimes people do it because it might be a bandwagon to jump on. I hate AI or whatever. But like I said, it's death by degrees, isn't it? If you're talented and you're using it as a little aid to help with your efficiency, or if you're using it, like I said, to plan to begin with, or like B, if you're not very good to begin with and you need to touch things up a little bit to get your vision out there, it's all different degrees, isn't it?
Yep. Here's one more. Go ahead, Keith.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think the general, from what I see, like the responses, the comments, like I think people are still very 50-50 about it, because everything, I think AI came at a point where, like, it's just like I think it hit us very fast, if I'm making any sense. Like, it's just suddenly you're seeing all these clips of like a Superman versus Hulk, like being like a scene that is just like, so I'm just trying to say, like, it's evolved so quickly that I don't think we are able to understand it fully now. So maybe that's, I mean, it's only time will tell, like, whether or not we can fully accept AI. So I think it's just really quick. Yeah, I don't think we can really judge whether it's right or wrong, like, now, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, someone
Because
made a comment. Go ahead.
yeah,
No, please
sorry.
continue.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Like, Marvel just fired the whole,
visual,
what is that?
the visual.
Yeah, exactly. And they're saying, like, AI is gonna take over, right? So I'm not sure, like,
I don't
doomsday.
think so. I think what looking, just I did a lot of reading into it, and what's looking more and more like is they're going to contract work. They're going to contract folks
Right.
overseas, so they
Okay.
don't have to pay. They don't have to pay health insurance and benefits.
Okay.
So it's a money. It's definitely a cost saving
that-
measure. No, it's definitely a cost saving measure. I'm not to say that AI won't be a factor, but it's definitely they're moving to contractors and they do to overseas contractors. They don't have to be liable for health services.
Okay.
That's my take.
Well, I think a lot of their CGI work has been criticised over the last few years, hasn't it? Anyway, has been rushed or unfinished feeding. So going to AI from that now would definitely not be a good plan for them, would it?
Yeah, I think it's also become trendy just to hate on AI, hate on CG to begin with.
Never seen that much of an issue. I've seen that maybe some of the when they were really pumping out series, you could see it a little bit there. Like I think with She-Hulk, there were a couple of bits and pieces that were a bit rough.
Yeah, but you're also trying to suspend your belief that there's a 6 foot
A big green woman, yeah,
green
exactly,
woman.
yeah.
But overall, the comments are back and forth. Someone commented about how AI enables people that are currently may be paralyzed to actually start using tools for creativity, which is like, okay, well, that's something I never considered.
That's like what Sam said, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of like a photography, it's definitely a lot of it's on the fence. One person wrote, I've considered using AI to enhance my photos to compete. Compete with who? I have no idea. But knowing the environment impact, it dissuades me. So that's honorable.
I think overall it's a matter of maybe misunderstanding, like from a larger point of view. Like people tend to maybe condemn stuff more when they do not understand it, which is also why they think like they have this strong like thinking that AI used in photography is kind of a way of cheating. If we obviously take away the environmental impact. So I think I believe you mentioned it earlier, Brett, but I think like having transparency and explaining your process and how you actually incorporated AI in your pictures can actually help educate people about it and make them more understanding on how it could be used.
Yeah. I think the transparency is key. And going back to Keith's earlier comment about how the conversation will change in the future to people asking, what was your light source to what was your prompt? For the 2 or 3 photos in which I used AI to alter my photos just to see what it would be like, I have all those chats are saved in my history on ChatGPT, so I'm more than willing to share them. If anybody wants them, they can just DM me. I don't care. I don't want to gatekeep this in any way. But in the
Okay.
future, I'm still so moving forward for myself personally, I'm going to continue doing what I do, which is just take each creative task individually. I'm not dedicating myself to saying I'm going to use AI in the future or saying I'm not. I'm basically just, what am I trying to achieve with this photo and what tools do I need to achieve what I'm trying to do? And that's all how I handle everything. Like my next one I'm going to do, I just want to do a Miles multiverse photo. That's not going to take any, effort. It might just be them standing side by side and on a white background. I don't know. Might keep it simple. or I might try to do a bunch of different poses. Depends how frustrated I feel that day. But
I think I remember your first few photos. You were trying to capture like all the Spider-Mans that you have, right? Like
yeah,
on a plain background, right?
yep,
Yeah, that's
yep.
how you started. And then I saw like your photography was evolving to what it is now, which is, oh my God. Sorry, I just thought about Marcus. Like
He's doing well. Marcus, Max, MX,
how is
Mark's
he?
Bricks.
So sorry. Yeah.
He's been wrapped up with work. I just talked to him last week. He's just been really overwhelmed with work. But his photography, I would have loved to have had him on this show, but I just knew he wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
make
This
it.
would have been great for this one. Because I used to call him the lighting master. He was so bloody good at getting the lighting right on things. He's a wizard.
Yeah, everything he shot was 100. Everything that he posted was 100% in camera.
I wonder what he would have to say about AI.
Yeah, I'd love to hear his thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear anybody else's thoughts. So when this is posted to Instagram, please chime in on your own. Leave comments about and let the conversation continue. But I think unless anybody has any closing arguments, I think we're ready to wrap this up.
So what I wanted to say is that this whole debate we're having about AI reminds me of a discussion that was happening when I first started Instagram about practical effects and digital ones. And there was a small group of people who were very pro practical, and they used to condemn people who used like digital stuff yeah, exactly, like I did, and they wouldn't understand what it meant to use them, and I was pretty pissed at them because my stuff took time and they wouldn't understand this mm, and how can I say this, and appreciate my work for the time I spent on it. So I think this whole AI situation, especially on the fact that it is considered as a shortcut or maybe cheating by some people, is a very similar subject. And I think it will come to evolving and people will start understanding more and more how it's used and that it isn't only a click and result method and that there's layers to it. So I think it is a matter of time until people start understanding how AI is and can be used in photography.
That's well said. I started my graphic design career in 10th grade in high school, and we used to run on traditional offset press. Kind of like they see in old movies where the newspaper's running, on the machines, and digital work was only starting to emerge. And as I was getting, closer to the end of high school in my 10th and 12th grade, and I was in college, and we started doing some more digital work, and I had to start thinking about what am I going to do after college. I would go to these job forums, and all these people are like, I've been in graphics designer for 35 years, and all this bullshit with this digital press and blah 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 blah. And it was like basically like they just refused to adapt, and they refused to accept new technology, new ways of doing things. They were all like, "This is the way it needs to be done," and this is why they didn't have any work. This is why they were jobless. So, yeah, my thing is this: I don't want to yuck on somebody else's yum. So, if you are a practical shooter or purist, we'll call it, and that is what you want to do, that's fine. I'm not going to shit on you for that. But then don't shit on me for doing what I do. If everyone's sitting there looking for their own, especially because a lot of us, didn't start this journey until like COVID. A lot of this was like a mental health escape for a lot of us, and it continues to be so. So don't shit all over my work just because I did
But
something that you
I
don't
will
like.
say as an outsider again, whether it's 95% AI or 5% AI, it doesn't take away from the work that you guys put into your posts. Whenever you post something, normies like me will see it, and we will, we do think, but wow, how did you do that? And we do appreciate how much work went into what you do as well. So it doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah. So that's my piece. Keith, do you have any closing comments?
I mean, adding on to what you and both Azork said, I think moving forward, AI could be used as a tool, more of like for like effects, like you mentioned, like in your photos, in that photo of like Captain America and Wolverine, you use it for like the water effects, the rain effects, the splash effects. So I think that moving forward could be just like a tool you use to add special effects to your shots, if that makes sense. Because I mean, for me personally, I don't like editing because I think it uses a lot of my time and I don't have the right effects to use for my images as well. So even sourcing for images, it takes time to look for the right PNG, for example, to add into that shot. So I think moving forward, AI could be used in that aspect, like as a tool to add special effects to your shot. And that, to me, like look at it now, I don't think it would be cheating. You know,
Right.
I would also appreciate that, and I'll be interested to know how do you do that. Yeah. So I think moving forward, I think people would appreciate that side of what AI can do for your photos instead of just generating a full-on 100% AI image. You know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, I would never personally,
Mm.
I would never use any sort of generative tool to create Lego. That just seems silly to me. Uh, Now, there might be some 13-year-old kid that can't afford a bunch of Lego, and that's the only way they can do it. So, again, I'm not going to
Mm.
shit on them for doing that. But, that's just something that's just weird. Yeah.
Sorry, there's this question that you asked earlier about would you rather between two pieces of work, right? One AI and one that is not AI. I realized you didn't answer that question yourself.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
what would you support? Which would you
I
select?
would ask this is where I famously ride the fence, and I ask
Yeah.
I would want more context about what was done, to do it. But,
Mm.
um,
Okay.
I don't think there's a one better than the other because
Mm.
each one does have its own merits in terms of how it was put together. Like I said, I read to you earlier what a real prompt
Yeah.
sounds like. It took a lot of work to get to that point, a lot of self-discovery to get to that point. And even then, the first 10, 12 results weren't what I was looking for. So, so, and then sitting there tooling away in Photoshop using stock photography, using libraries of special effects, brushes and this, that, and the other, that takes a lot of work in itself. So to me, it's not a matter of how it's put together. It's about how transparent you are about how it's put together. As long as you're telling
Okay.
me the truth, we're good. And I can appreciate and respect either method of creation. But if you're sitting there and saying, I did that, all by myself, and it turns out you did actually start using machine learning to do it, then, and you're not being truthful about it, then I think you're kind of a piece of shit.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
you shouldn't be just own up to what you've done and just be like,
Yeah.
this I used AI here, and this is how I
Yeah.
used it, and this is what I learned while doing it, and here's how you could use it. Or you can say, well, this is how I made the special effect. Like the sparks in my Wolverine picture, those sparks were Shutterstock. You know, I went through so many pictures of sparks looking for ones that would work, and even then, I still had to edit. And then I had
Yeah.
to find them on a wet black background and set the layer to screen so the black disappears. And
Mm.
it was a lot of work. But all right. Well, that being said, the discussion for us ends now, but it doesn't have to end for everybody. So please feel free to leave comments on the Instagram post or the YouTube channel if you have any. Um, I'll post several of the works that we referenced and the poll that I referenced. I'll put in the post show wrap up. If you're interested in supporting this podcast and all we do, there'll be a link in the description to do so. It's never obligated, but always appreciated. That being said, we're just going to wrap it up. So everyone, just Samir, Keith, thank you so much for coming on. Phil, pleasure as always. Don't disappear on me for months at a time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, if anybody's wondering why we had on a hiatus, rumors of our death, it was greatly exaggerated, but Phil
Yeah,
had...
funny enough, I actually said that to someone the other day. I say rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Someone just posted a meme the other day. It showed like the Grim Reaper going door to door. On the first door was Bricks and Banter. On the second door was our podcast. On the third
Christ.
door was Brick Chat. I was like, come on, give me a little bit. But speaking of podcasts, actually, you know what? Let me wrap this up by saying there's a new Lego custom, well, call it custom Lego. There's a new Lego podcast out there called Disturbing the Peace. And it's spelled by piece as in like a Lego piece, PIECE, done by two very talented individuals based Prion. And I apologize, I can't remember the other co-host's name, but it's a really good podcast where they go into the lore and background and history and application of some of the odder pieces that you see in the Lego building system. So it's called Disturbing the Peace. So go ahead and check that out. They're on YouTube. I always want to give a shout out whenever I can to help support other podcasts. So, all right, that's all I got. Yeah. Thanks again, everybody, for swinging by. Thanks for those who listened this far. Feel free to hit me up on any DMs if you have any further questions. Again, I'm Geek Over 40. Samir is Azork. Castleinthepool is Keith. Phil Fat Cat Bricks. And they'll all be linked in the show description as well. All right, everyone else, say bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I want you on my rack. I want to make you ring. I want you to unwrap. I want to pull your string. Bring me the next shiny